Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. This is Tamika's Den. I'm Tamika. Get on in here, y'all. Get on in here. Kick off your shoes and relax your feet. You are now in the den. Child, get on in here, y'all. Get on in here. Get on in here. Listen, this is my review recap. Tyler Perry Sistas, Daydreams, Season 6, Episode 12. It was all a dream. I used to read Murder Magazine. We knew this was going to be dream. We knew Fatima wasn't going nowhere. But y'all, 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. But honey, leave all that at the door, okay? Leave the logic at the door. Make it make sense because the math ain't mathing, all right? We got Karen telling Zach, did you see the results? Okay, you are the father. Then we got Aaron telling Andy, I'm the father. I done found out, but I didn't find out from Karen, okay? And we trying to ask inquiring minds want to know, Aaron, where the hell you found this at? Then we got Fatima saying, girl, this don't say nothing about Zach because she never had Zach DNA to begin with. This just basically says that Aaron is not the father. So what is the truth, child? Okay, we need you to come on, sit down on the couch and break it on down for us. Meanwhile, none of this means nothing because we still ain't gonna see no stomach or no baby on Karen 5 years from now, y'all. All right. And listen, I'm rocking my blue. All right. Like Zatima. We gonna get on into this, y'all. Break it on down. Take it from the top because it was a whole ass mess. Bayo is trash. We always knew he was trash. Sabrina over here ain't got the sense God gave a roach. Really thought that this man was gonna give her all this money and it wasn't gonna cost a thing. He said, no, baby. What you gonna do is, yeah, you gonna give me some ass and you gonna become one of my wives. Okay. She got to do something strange for that change. In the meantime, Logan, what are you here for? You are completely useless. He's like, are you really this dumb? He's so headstrong on Sabrina and freaking Maurice being guilty that he's willing to do anything and everything. I never thought anybody could be more useless and annoying to me than damn Gary, but I think he taking the cake, okay? In the meantime, Gary creeping around the freaking office, popping in on Andy, telling her about how this site ain't no good, supposedly supposed to be there for Hayden. We really don't care. We don't need to see it at all. Child, and we all saying we gonna have a meet up at Karen's house to go over and talk to her, right? And see if we can get some sense into her. We don't understand what's going on. All right, all of this is happening because of the pregnancy. If y'all don't get out my damn face with this, I'm so sick of Tyler Perry playing in my freaking face, y'all. Sick of it, okay? I'm so glad we got new writers coming in for the next season. And from what I'm hearing, some of the cast is going to be going. I'm curious to see where the heck this daggone child, where they going to take these characters to. Because I'm tired. I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired. And I know y'all tired of hearing me say I'm tired. But we going to talk about it, okay? So we start out this episode, child. Of course, you know, Karen is getting snapped out of her daydream. We back to reality. We seeing that, you know, Fatima and Zach is standing there and she is just basically like, did y'all see the results? And both of them are saying, yeah, we saw it, you know. And she's like, yeah, I just wanted to look you in your face and I wanted to be able to see your response when you saw it or whatever, right? Because Zach is saying, what the hell are you here for? What are you doing, Karen? Like, why are you doing this? What is going on? What is the point? And so Fatima talking about me, and then she like, yeah, you know, and, you know, Fatima was like, saying, no, let me talk to her because Zach was telling Andy, like, can you please take her in the back? He like, you go ahead to work or whatever. Like, that's it. Neither one of y'all say nothing to each other. You know what I'm saying? Break this up. And he was like, you go ahead. And, you know, Fatima was basically saying, no, Andy's not going to take her anywhere, that she's going to stand right there. And she says, you know, I was wrong for walking in your house. I will admit that. I did come with a plan. And Karen is like, I bet you did. She was like, yeah, to talk to you woman to woman, but you immediately started with the bitches and the disrespect. She was like, yeah, well, you came in my house and uninvited. Okay, both of them got points there. But she says, yeah, I was wrong, and you was just as wrong for you coming at Zach in the way that you did. And, you know, Karen is like, yep, you know what? I was wrong with that. And, you know, I don't even know why I did that anyway, because at the end of the day, you know, this ninja ain't never been, you know what I'm saying, shit to me anyway. And so you know, of course, Fatima like, oh no, you know, you're lying there. And then she's like, oh, you would know. And she like, yeah, I would. And so Zach is just saying, can we move on from this? And Karen goes, oh, I get it. I get it. I get it. You know, I know what time it is. Y'all just trying to keep me out of your pockets. So that's why y'all trying to be so nice to me. And she says that this baby is going to be taken care of no matter what. It's going to get every dime that it deserves, everything that it deserves, you know, and that's that on that point blank period. And Zach is just going, yeah, it is. Okay, fine. You know, he not giving her no argument back. He not feeding into it. He just want them to be able to go on what they do. Child, not that anybody is surprised, because I'm definitely not. We get Aaron and Pam popping up at the office right after that, talking about, okay, cool, yeah, good, everything is all right. And she like, what the hell y'all doing here? What did y'all come here for? You know, to make sure your behind wasn't doing nothing freaking crazy, okay? We had to check in on you. And she basically tells both of them, like, stop following me, stop checking up on me. I don't need y'all to watch me. You know, a little before they got there, of course, Andy was still trying to tell her to calm down, give her a minute, let her talk. And she's like, no. She was like, you're going to have to choose. Either you're my friend or you're her friend. And Andy is basically saying that's not fair. You know, of course, she's still trying to tell her that she's her friend. And she's like, no, you basically are playing, you know, both sides of the fence. And Andy is basically saying she's not. And she was like, if you're not choosing, then that means that you're choosing her. And, you know, of course, Andy talking about something, that's not what I'm doing. And she like, okay, all right, you know, whatever you say. But she didn't want to hear her. And that right after that was when Aaron and Pam shows up. So, of course, you know, Pam just being who the hell she is. She over here talking about, you know, she been acting a damn fool. That's your freaking friend. You see it. And then Andy's like, yeah, that's my best friend, and that's also, you know, your boss. So in other words, stay in your place, play your position or whatever, right? And Aaron asked if he could speak to Andy for a minute. And she like, okay. So he pulling her to the side, and he like, yo, do you really know what's going on? Because I never seen her act like this. I never, you know, seen this side of her at all. And he was like, you know, I do have a friend that basically, you know, his girl was pregnant before, and he was saying how she turned into a completely different person. So it's like, no, but it gotta be more than that. It ain't just about no daggone pregnancy, right? And then he's like, yeah, she told you, right? And he was like, oh, she didn't tell you. And she's like, what are you talking about? He was like, I'm the father. She's like, what makes you think that? Why would you say that or whatever, right? And he is claiming that he done seen the results, got the results, or whatever the case may be. And she was like, how would you get that, you know? Oh, that's illegal. Let me guess, you know, because you were the one that made the appointment for her that time or whatever. And then you knew when she was at the hospital without her telling you. So you got somebody that's in the inside that's calling you up and telling you things. He's saying no, but he's still saying that he's not going to let her know, you know, who it was. Yeah, Aaron, that's a no from me, dog, okay? The more time goes on, the more you are giving me weird, crazy, okay, interrange, and we can't trust your ass either. And my whole thing is, why are you coming to tell Andy this, and why haven't you confronted Karen about it or whatever, instead of just keep popping up like you a damn stalker every damn minute? But, you know, I guess somewhere down the line, we gonna get to that. So, you know, of course, she's even more confused by hearing him say this. Like, you know, why the hell would he be saying that this is his child, but she been headstrong on saying that is Zach's. Now, we get over and see that Sabrina and Calvin still been waiting out here, you know, for daggone Maurice at the precinct. She's super worried. And we also seeing that the lawyer never showed up. And Calvin is like, maybe Maurice did have a point to what he was saying as far as this lawyer not liking him and not wanting to be there for him, because it's been over an hour when he didn't get here yet. You know, her nerves is bad. She don't want to think about that aspect of it. And she's wondering why Maurice is in the back for so long. What could he possibly be telling her, you know, telling them for this long? What could they be talking about for this long? What's going on? So finally we get back there and we see that Maurice pretty much still been sticking to the same story. He's still been saying that, you know, as Sabrina goes, she had nothing to do with this. It was me that did it. I'm so guilty or whatever. But he has no type of evidence about this. And every time they ask him different things, he keeps saying, I don't know. So if you don't know the ins and out of how the operation went, then more than likely, you know, we can't believe that you was a part of it. However, this guy's like saying, well, give me more of a breakdown, give me something, because he could clearly see that there's something going on and there's a reason why Maurice is, saying all of this. He ain't come to admit to something like this for no reason at all, but he's telling Maurice it don't work that way. And you got Logan still sitting there talking about, oh boy, I don't know why he wasting time. He lying, you gonna fall for this and all this other different kind of stuff. And he's basically telling Logan to stop it, okay, shut his damn mouth or whatever for a minute. And Maurice still keeps saying, I'm telling you the truth, but I don't have no evidence. I don't have anything else that I could say. And he, the guy's just like, this doesn't make any type of sense or whatever, right? The DA. And so he was like, Logan is saying, tell him what you told me. And he's like, I just gave him everything. I told him everything that I told you. And Logan is like, oh, he's just saying some bullshit. Right. So then he asked, him and Logan step outside for a minute. Do he mind if he take a minute? And Maurice was like, do I really have a choice? And he was like, well, no, not really. Okay, we gonna just step outside for a minute. And when they get outside, he's basically saying to Logan, like, what is your problem? What is your deal? We can clearly see that this man, is innocent. He's innocent and she's innocent. They didn't have anything to do with this. He was like, you seen the fear in his face on the daggone video. Now he coming in here literally willing to take the fall and take the blame for everything just so he could protect her and make sure that she goes free. We've been doing this long enough to know what time it is. And he's like, look at him. How do you not see that? Like, what are you going so hard after them for? That's the bigger question, right? And Logan keeps saying they're in on it. They're in on it. I know that they're in on it. And he's like, yeah, I think you're wrong. I don't agree with you on this. And he was like, asking him why he trying to protect him. He like, this case is weak. And even if he's lying, like, there's a good chance that he would get off. He was like, when you first gave me the call about this, I was excited. But now that I'm really looking at everything, I see that this really could like be a situation where we don't even get past with this, because if I'm seeing through it, other people would see through it too. So he was like, I'm trying to understand, why would you still be going on with it or whatever? And he's like, oh, wait a minute. Let me find out. You trying to make Chief. That's what this is all about. He was like, yo, you really need to get your head out your ass. Okay, get your head out the clouds. Look into the evidence and make sure everything is good. You can't come half-assed. So he basically was like, if there's any reasonable doubt, they're going to get off anyway. And he was like, you got to bring me something solid. And this ain't it. Logan talking about, I will. He says, and it better be quick. Oh, I will. And he was like, not some other bullshit tape either. He was like, yeah. And speaking of that, as a matter of fact, where's Quincy? Oh, I'm going to get him down here. He's at work right now. He was like, yeah, get him down here because I need to talk to him. So he asked, what should he do with Maurice? He's like, let him go. There's no way that we could hold him. So he like, okay, and I'm just trying to understand, why is he going so freaking hard? In the meantime, we got Andy calling up, the usual Danny. Oh, we got to have this meeting. We got to go over to Karen's house. And Danny like, I'm tired of going to her damn house, girl. Like, you have fun with that. Make sure you got your holy oil, okay? And you blocking, you got your blessings. And she like, no, I'm going to need you to bring, you and your weapon along too or whatever, and meet me there. We really got to talk to her because it's getting more and more out of control or whatever the case may be. And she's giving her a little bit of the tea of when we're down and how she came there and approached Zach and told him that he's the baby father. So she's like, oh, Sabrina gonna owe me some money, because remember they was making a bet. She was like, yeah, but that's not all, because now we got Mr. Aaron telling me that he also, okay, has some type of proof that the baby is his, that he's seen the results, and this didn't come from Karen. And she's like, well, how the hell could he possibly have the results? And she was like, that's what I'm saying. So I'm like, okay, whatever, child. So, when Danny hang up the phone, she's basically like, I'm sick of this. I'm like, girl, we all are. Okay, we all are. Now, finally, Maurice come out and Sabrina's just keeping on telling him, like, let's go home. Let's go home. Good. I'm glad they didn't believe you. Let's get up out of here. And he's basically like, no, we can't get out of here. And we can't just leave it like that. I have to make sure that you are able to be free of this. So that's not the end of it. And he like, the lawyer never came. came, did he? And she's like, no. He was like, see, I kept trying to tell you that your daggone friend was homophobic. And of course, she's still leery and they ain't really believing that all the way 100%. But she's just like, come on, okay, let's go home. And then Calvin is like, let's go home too. And here come Logan again. I know y'all guilty. I know y'all did this. I'm going to prove that y'all did this. And Sabrina's just saying, like, I'm not going to talk to you without my lawyer being present. And then they all just saying, let's get out of here. Maurice looking at him like if looks could kill, his ass would be dead, right? So we get over to Hayden and Gary. Wasn't much going on with them, child. They trying to act like they doing some damn taxes. Gary asked him like one question, then he started talking about the cow jumped over the moon. Everything he's saying, Hayden basically like, yeah, okay. So he realizing that Hayden's head is really still not in the game. He ain't thinking about these damn taxes. So he like, yo, just get it off your chest. What? You still over here daydreaming about this girl? You really do miss her, huh? This got your head messed up or whatever. You ain't thinking about no taxes. And Hayden is like, I know it was only a couple of weeks, but that was the happiest weeks of my life, okay? Before this, I was just a lonely guy sitting at home. And, of course, Gary's attitude is just like, okay, and whatever. It be like that sometimes. And he was like, yeah, it do. But, I'm really, really happy with her. And at one point, she did say that, we should at least try to give it like maybe 6 months before we make a decision on whether we think we could be with each other or not. He was like, no, you cannot do that. If you stay 6 months, you might as well stay a year. Like at that point, you being able to get an annulment and all of that would be out the window, and you didn't get no prenuptial agreement. I said, well, really, technically, child, you can always get a damn postnum. Not that I'm, rooting for damn Tamara. I actually was rooting for her to take all his money and everything from him and run with it. But I'm just saying, like, Hayden, you stupid anyway, because you really sitting here asking, Hayden Gary for advice. But after a while, he started telling him too, like, oh, who are you to, give insight and damn opinions on stuff? You ain't got your stuff all together either. You acting like the ins and out and you do everything right. And of course, typical Gary, he talking about, yeah, I do. All my stuff is together. And he was like, basically dissing Hayden and telling him, because Hayden at one point was like, he done been through a whole bunch of girls in the past. And he's like, you could stop lying about that. You wasn't nothing but the little chubby fat kid in high school that no girls paid attention to. So he was like, you got jokes. And no, I was not. You didn't even know me when I was in high school. So of course he keep giggling about that off and on or whatever. And he talking about something, all right, I'm gonna get ready to get out of here. I'll be back in a little bit. I said, y'all so full of crap, because yeah, Hayden might have been daydreaming, Gary, but you wasn't thinking about no work either, because your mind is over here trying to creep to freaking Andy. Your mind was there before your damn feet got there. Then he come busting in her office all rude. I said, we don't knock on the damn door. And he come in there basically just to start talking about, you on a dating site? And she like, yeah, well, I guess you up there too if you saw me. And he was like, no, one of my friends sent it to him, right? Allegedly. And supposedly the friend owns the company. I said, ain't that damn illegal? Ain't that some type of violation too, child? Everybody sharing everybody info. So basically, he's letting her know it be some crazy people up there, right? And that there's actually lawsuits with this company, supposedly, right? Might be some truth to that, but at the same time, we know Gary just like to also be nosy, have control, and feel threatened, because it's like, how dare she be out here and, dating other guys. So she's basically telling him like, okay, and I guess if it is anybody dangerous out there, then I will have to find out and see that for myself or whatever. And as a matter of fact, I am up there. And, it's been very interesting so far, and I'm looking to see what's going to be going down. And she was like, why are you always over here? And he talking about, well, I'm here to see Hayden. I have some tax stuff to do with him. And she's like, okay, well, Hayden is down the hall. He not in here. Oh, it's like that. Yes, it is like that. Okay, very much so. So he was like, you're just going to be going on all these dates with all these guys. And she was like, I am. It's fantastic or whatever, right? So he says, well, you should be careful. It's like, okay, well, thank you very much, for your advice or whatever, But I'm good. So, then Fatima ends up actually knocking on the door. I said, damn, Fatima work here. She knocked, but you didn't. She come in, and I guess she had already seen that he had went in there, and she must have been like, let me go save damn Andy for this damn foolishness over here. She can't stand him either. So even she's asking him what the hell he doing here. And Andy's like, I was just asking that myself. And he brings up Hayden again. And she's like, okay, well, Hayden is down the hall. Go ahead and help yourself, to it. I still see you standing here. And she opened up the door so that he could leave. And she like, girl, I can't stand his ass. Okay, he is so freaking annoying and aggravating and just really a piece of damn crap, right? And then, Andy's like, yes, he is. Okay. And I don't want to talk about him. Let's just go ahead and move away from there. So she was like, did I hear him bringing up something about the dating site? And she's like, yeah, he did. He's telling me how it's dangerous guys up there or whatever. But I'm not going to be dating everybody out here in these streets. Okay. I will be very selective. But of course, that's what he going to be thinking is going to be going down. So she like, okay, girl, I see you. I'm there with you with that or whatever the case may be. Right. I like that. So we get to talking about Zach on Karen. And y'all, I got a little bit of annoyed with this conversation. Like, I get it. Fatima was asking her, girl, did you really look at those results? Did you see them? And then Andy's like, no, I didn't. Why? And apparently she done printed it out. And she's like, I don't know. Something just seems off with it. It seems a little funny because, Andy was saying she was about to get out of there. And then she was like, are you okay? What's going on? So she passes her the paper and she's looking at it. And at the same time, we hear Fatima say, like, it's just saying that Aaron is not the father. She never had Zach's DNA was to be able to say whether he was the father or not. So it just basically was ruling Aaron out. And then Andy's looking at it like, yeah, that is strange. And of course, with the conversation that Aaron just had with her earlier, that make it even stranger because it's like, why the hell would he come in here and say that to her? Now, I just felt like this is where the conversation should have ended. It went a little too far for me, in my opinion, when Andy not only started to tell her what Aaron said to her earlier, but then went on to have a debate back and forth with Fatima in reference to how many partners that Karen actually slept with. I was like, that's a little bit too much for me. And y'all know that when a lot of people have been bashing Andy and saying that she not a friend, I've always been like, she has been a friend. She has been neutral. Like, Karen don't own her. She can have whatever other friends on the outside. It makes it very awkward because the other friend that you just so happen to have made is actually the person that is now in a relationship with your other friend's ex. So that already makes it awkward, and we already supposedly agreed that we were not going to talk about, like, I'm not going to talk about her to you, and I'm not going to talk about you to her, and when we're at work, we're professional, and we're a boss, and this and that. We've had that conversation several times, but it all of a sudden went out the window, and we thought it was okay to be like, no, I'm pretty sure that's the only two that she has sex with. I would know if she was having sex with anybody else, and it becomes a thing where you have to defend what her sex life is, and then Fatima's going, oh, if you say so, I don't know about all of that. And maybe some things you don't know about. Like for me, I got two best friends that at this point have become way more than best friends. They are my literal little sisters. You know what I mean? Like they are part of the family. I'm with their family. They with mine. And there's no way that I'm sitting down and saying all of that to another friend of mine about either one of them. So I did not like that part. Just me personally. I know it's probably some people that's going to disagree with me, but I felt like that was a little too much to go into all of that. But of course, they was going back and forth, and she was like, I'm even more confused now. But by them having this conversation, Fatima does say, like, wait a minute, hold up, I'm sorry, what? Like, how the hell would that be? And she's like, I don't know. She was like, how could he even know something like that? And she was like, he says somebody told him. And this brings them back to the whole thing where he had also had info before, and Fatima was like, that's probably the same person that time that she was at the hospital or whatever. And then Andy's like, yeah, that would make sense. And it's like, that shit is illegal. And it's illegal, and it's very freaking creepy. And like I said, instead of him sitting there telling Andy about it, I felt like he should have been telling Karen. I ain't really like that part either, but I said, child, if that's the only way we gonna get some answers to what's going on, I guess so. Because it's like, we sure as hell ain't getting it no other way. So I said, now Karen out here falsifying documents, like, what is the freaking purpose? Why don't all of y'all just take your asses to the hospital together, nip all of this in the bud, all three of y'all at the same time, and do this damn test and stop playing the freak around with me, okay? So now when we get to the airport, this was a wasted scene to me. We got some guy, he was nice looking, but he was also goofy as hell, okay? and acting like he was some strange stalker. He know all the music Danny like. He know who her friends is. Oh, you gonna about to call up Andy and Sabrina and Karen. You know you like Tupac and you listen to a little country, and I don't know about the country part. I'm not all into that. And he claims that, you know, we take our lunch break the same time. We come in the same time. We leave the same time. Our cars is parked by each other. So therefore I be hearing you. You talk real loud and you know, be having your music real loud. And then she also was able to say, wait, you got the black van. Oh, you be playing that, you know, Biggie Loud or whatever the case may be too. And you smoke too. And he like, yeah, shh, you know, I do. So, or she told him he listened to Tupac, matter of fact, whatever. So he's like, oh, well, you noticed that. She's like, yeah, I mean, it's hard not to notice or whatever, right? But I don't be being all nosy in your damn business. And you can stop listening on my calls, because he's basically like, you know, the only thing that can make me feel sad is if you say no to going on, you know, tonight and meeting me up for a drink. And she like, yeah, the answer's no, I got somebody. He over here like Preston. I mean, he know every damn thing. So she was like, yeah, it's just a bit too damn much, okay? And then it gets even creepier, because he was like, I know that you be behind in your rent sometime, because she basically was like, next thing you know, you gonna know my damn address, my social security number, and everything else. And so she was like, yeah, stop listening in on my freaking calls. Okay, I'm going to make sure I close up all my windows and all of that. And he was like, all right, done, fine. You know, no problem. If you give me a chance and you go out on a date with me, then I can tell you more things about me. And she's just basically telling him, nah, I'm good on that. Okay, he was like, you know, fair enough. But just in case if you interested or whatever, you know, you can meet me. I'm going to be there till 10 o'clock or whatever the case may be at Juniper. I said, child, what the hell was this? What was the point of this? All right, Danny always got somebody hitting on her, though. One thing she going to have is somebody hitting on her. So she calls up Sabrina and is like, did you hear my messages? Are you going to meet me? She could hear it in her voice that something is wrong. And she's like, what happened with, you know, Maurice? And Sabrina's just basically telling her that I'm going to tell you once we get there. And she was like, girl, you know, we ain't going to have nothing else to talk about when we get there. We going to be talking about Karen ass. Like, let's not play no games. She like, did Maurice go to jail? She like, no. She like, okay, are you going to jail? She was like, girl, I'm going to tell you when we get there. So she say, okay. They hang up. So lo and behold, child, you know, Fatima get home or whatever to Zach. He asking her if she okay. She saying she good. He saying he good. They saying they came a long way. They proud of each other and where they are right now. And it don't be them and their issues and how they are with each other, but it be a lot of stuff from the outside, okay? People be trying to bring them down, 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 down. And, you know, also he's coming a long way and he's been doing a lot of work on himself individually. And she's like, yeah, I see it. And then he was also saying just what an amazing person she is and how he don't know if the roles was reversed, if he would have been able to deal with everything that she has dealt with. I can answer that. Hell to the no. Hell to the no. Hell to the no. But he's saying, you know, to her that he would, in fact, you know, do the same thing the opposite way around, and that he just really appreciates and sees how amazing she is and how much stuff she has had to put up with. And so he's telling her he don't have no appetite, and he's like, give her, you know, her feet, give him her feet to rub. And she's like, nah, I don't want you to rub on my feet right now, okay? So he's saying he can't eat because he's worried about his son. And if his son is not eating, how the hell he gonna be eating? She like, do you want to just go and check on him? He like, nah, I'm good with that. You know, you're tired. You already had a long day. And she like, nah, we could go. So he was like, just promise me, you know, you're not gonna be fighting nobody. Well, I might, you know. And he like, nah, you not gonna fight anybody, period. She like, all right, I'll promise that for tonight. And she go ahead and go upstairs saying she just gonna change real quick. You know, he's telling her to leave her pocketbook upstairs. And she like, now you want too much. Mind you, at one point she was like, okay, well, I won't take them out myself or whatever, because she was like, yeah, you and your bitches, they be doing too much. You know, I could just go ahead and wipe them out. He like, nah, we ain't doing that. Can you leave the gangster alone for one night? Then she gonna talk about I could call my cousin to do it. I'm just like, I'm so tired of this scenario, y'all. I really am. It used to be a little cute, a little funny in the beginning. Now I'm just like, okay, it's going to be just keeping on continuing to be ringing around the rosy with it. And me just personally, I'm tired of it. But I guess, right? So they say it ain't going to be no bang, bang, bang going down tonight. We going to go ahead over and we going to check on Zach's son and see what's going on with him, right? Now, we get to freaking Sabrina. Bayo finally shows up. She give him a hug. She asks him, do he want anything to drink? He like, nah, he good or whatever, right? And so she just really wanted to speak to him because she was like, you know, Maurice, I wanted to talk to you about him. And he like, yeah, I don't like that guy or whatever, right? And she was like, well, why? Like, what do you got against him? Is it because he's gay? You know, he proceeds to say how in his country, they would not mess with Maurice, you know, when he wouldn't be able to be around certain things. And the only reason why he helped him is, of course, based on Sabrina and for Sabrina, because of Sabrina or whatever. It never had nothing to do with him. He don't like him. He don't want nothing to do with him. He don't want to talk about him. And she's like, oh, is that why the lawyer didn't show up? And he's like, no, the lawyer was just busy. She was like, well, it's funny that you already knew that the lawyer didn't show up or whatever the case may be. So she was like, wow, you know, that's not cool. And she's like, wow, seriously, for real? And of course, acting like I said, she's clueless as I don't know what. And it's like, wow, literally everybody was telling you this. You was all gassed up about him being this African prince or whatever. But as far as everything else, it's like it was right in your face. And again, who is giving you millions and not expecting nothing in damn return, girl? Especially somebody that don't know you from a hole in the wall. So then here he goes like, oh, I'm just worried about my investment. And she's, investment? What do you mean investment? Oh, that's what you think of it as investment? He was like, yeah, that's what it is. She was like, oh, so let me get this straight. Are you thinking I'm supposed to sleep with you for it? He like, hell to the yeah, girl, you supposed to sleep with me. And not only that, you supposed to be becoming one of my wives. Okay, that's what I do. When I put them dollars down, that's what that means in my country, that you now become mine. But I would have told him, honey, you in America now, honey. That ain't what it mean over here. Okay, because she over here talking about some thank you so much. I am thank you for what, you know, you did for him and you didn't have to do that. And I'm thank you for what, you know, you did for me. And he was saying how Maurice had to go ahead and find him another lawyer. And she's like, okay, but she was telling him that it was not okay the way that he was like, you know, acting. And she was like, just because he's gay or whatever, at the end of the day, that's my friend. So, you know, he was trying to smooth it over at first, like, oh, do you want to go out to dinner? Do you want to go get a drink type of thing? And she's like, no, like, I just literally wanted you to come over here to talk to you about this. And she was like, I don't think we could do this anymore. And he was like, do what? I said, yes, Sabrina, do what? Because what do you even call this? Like, at the end of the day, you literally called over somebody you don't know to ask them to pay on somebody else's bill that they don't know millions of freaking dollars to help you, girl. Like, what? So I don't know, child. I feel kind of bad for Sabrina. You know, she talking about this is not okay. This is not okay. So he was like, you didn't want my help. She like, yeah, I wanted your help and thank you for your help. I appreciate it or whatever, right? But of course, he just was, like I said, saying he didn't want to talk about Maurice. He was only here to help her. He only cared about her and what he getting from her and, you know, the investment that he made in her. And he like, yeah, girl, you going to have to do something strange, okay, for that change, okay? Make it pop. That was not for nothing, honey. You know, and anything else that he need, he gonna have to go ahead and get it on his own. So, you know, she was so shocked and appalled when he said that. Lord of mercy, y'all. That's how that episode ended. What y'all think Sabrina gonna do? What she gonna say now, child? What we gonna say when we get over to damn Karen house that we ain't already damn said, okay? And what the hell is Logan about to do with this whole freaking Q's conversation? We already know that Zach gonna end up being the one to go off when he get over here to his son's house. He was telling Fatima to calm down, but she gonna have to tell him to calm down. But that was the episode, y'all. Put it in the comments. Tell me what y'all rated this episode, what you liked, what you didn't like, all that good stuff. Anything I forgot, put that in the comments. We'll discuss it down there. Give me a wave. Let me know you came by. Put some flames up in the sky, y'all. Like, comment, share, subscribe if you are so inclined. Woo, child. Until next time. Toodaloo.